I do believe next we're going to kick it to our moderator of today's conversation, Howard.
Here. Hey, what's going
Oh,
on, everybody? What's going on? So,
oh wow.
first, yeah. So, so why do I have this VR headset? And Jada, you're doing an amazing job moderating. Thank you, Aisha,
Oh,
to my
thank you.
president of the Greater Washington Black Chamber of Commerce. It's an honor to be under your leadership. And also, thank you, Sterling, for being here today as we worked in the community and done some amazing things that we'll talk about during this conversation. So, my name is Howard John. I represent this thing called Black Meta Agency. And our mission is to create a pipeline of 1 million BIPOC men and women in the emerging tech space, which includes AI, virtual reality, robotics, and biotech and other industries. And so what makes me, prepared to have this conversation is because I have been training DC residents and DC startups in AI for the past 2 years and cohorts of 30 or more, as well as working with grants like MBDA, Department of Labor to train women in tech and also to empower small businesses through technology. And so during that time, I've experienced a lot of very interesting conversations and moments where we're empowering stakeholders from around the country, from New York to South Carolina to even DC and Maryland. And it's always interesting people's reaction once they understand the power of AI, but also it's interesting once they understand the power of AI for the pro and the con. And so today we're going to have a conversation that discusses those pros and cons as it relates to community empowerment, development, the impact of business industries such as media, such as education, workforce development, and other industries that all revolve around advancing technologies. We are standing at a pivotal moment where AI is not just some distant future, it's reshaping how we work, learn, create, and organize. It's influencing who gets hired, who gets funded, who gets their stories told, and which neighborhoods can bear the opportunity cost, but also the opportunity advantages of technological progress. According to McKinsey, AI could contribute to 13 trillion jobs to the global economy by 2030. Goldman Sachs projects the AI market alone will reach $1.8 trillion. dollars. We're witnessing one of the largest wealth transfers in human history, and right now, communities of color are less than 2% of the AI companies and receive less than 1% of venture capital funding in the space. So the question isn't whether AI would transform our world. The question is who would benefit, who would decide, who builds, and who bears the cost. So, as an educator, and my background is teaching and learning. While I was a professor, a teacher at a public school and private school level, I like to do three things when I discuss any topic, especially something as important as AI. We like to inform, we like to expose, and engage. Inform, we want to ground us in real data, real impacts, and opportunities. Expose people to different use cases, both also different implications that may come from AIs and incorporation into different models and communities. And lastly, you want to engage people by letting them know this is how you leverage this technology. And here are some areas you should be concerned about for both improving the way you work, but also protecting the integrity of your community. We've assembled a powerful panel of people that reflect various perspectives, some we agree with and some we may not agree with, as it relates to AI builders, storytellers, learners, and community members. We have a hot topics moment of the conversation, so we want to hear some of the most controversial topics in AI, as we understand that controversial talking points gets the people going, but it creates conversation and dialogue. Throughout our discussion, we encourage you to submit questions via chat, and we'll reserve time at the end to address your questions and hear directly from our panelists about the work and how you can stay connected to them. So let me get into the introductions. Right now, I will bring up Taylor Fraser McCullum. She's our community advocate. She's a powerful example of what organized community action can achieve. Taylor is a community advocate with the Party for Socialism and Liberation who led a grassroots movement campaign to stop a proposed data center in Landover, Maryland. Her Change.org petition garnered her over 22,000 signatures and sparked a countrywide moratorium on new data centers. Taylor's work shows how everyday people can shape policy, protect their communities, and demand accountability. Welcome, Taylor.
How you
Welcome,
doing?
Taylor.
Thank
All
you.
right.
And that's a
Thank you.
county-wide moratorium. Sorry, just want to make sure.
A countywide. Thank you so much for that
Yes.
correction. All right. Next, we have Sydney Goysha Duran. Sydney's the editor-in-chief of the Hilltop and a student at Howard University. She represents the future of journalism. Shout out to you. Sydney is a junior journalism major and environmental studies major, a 2025 White House Correspondents Association scholar, and editor in chief of the Hilltop, one of the oldest Black collegiate newspapers in the country. From reporting roots to leadership in the newsroom, Sydney brings a sharp focus on environmental and social justice, a commitment to storytelling that matters. Thank you, Sydney, for taking time out of your busy college schedule to be here today.
Thanks for having me.
All right. Marlon Avery, which is somebody I follow on social media, and he's a fellow techie. Sits at the intersection of AI business and community impact. Marlon is a Gen AI and Voice AI strategist and founder and CEO of AI Impact and VoicePath. He's trained over 10,000 professionals, led Azure OpenAI bootcamps for Microsoft, partnered with Google on national AI literacy initiatives, and builds HIPAA-grade voice AI systems that cut cost and workload across major industries. Marlon is known for making AI practical, profitable, and responsible. Welcome. Welcome, Marlon.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Glad to be here.
All right. Next, we have Miss Liz Corquet Lasaunier, Managing Director of Word in Black. She's a nationally respected journalist and media leader in the managing directing of Word in Black and has reported on racial justice, education, health, and culture for outlets such as Ebony, BuzzFeed, and the Huffington Post. She previously served as the founding managing editor of Shondaland.com and has spent her career elevating equity centered on storytelling with depth, credibility, and impact. Welcome, Liz. Next, we have Eric Brown Jr. Eric Brown is the founder of Elevate Coaching and Consulting. He moves from AI from ambition to real adoption. Eric is a senior solutions AI engineer for one of the leading companies in the nation, which we'll call Microsoft, where he advises Fortune 500 companies, public sector teams, and mission-driven organizations. Eric specializes in helping teams move beyond stalled pilots to trusted, scalable AI, always keeping people, purpose, and real outcomes at the center of innovation. Welcome, Eric.
Happy to be here.
All right. So we can get right to the conversation. Our first conversation is going to focus on our personal and professional relationship to AI. According to McKinsey's 2024 State of AI report, 65% of organizations now regularly use generative AI, near double the previous year. Yet adoption seems deeply uneven. Black professionals report 23% lower access to AI training opportunities compared to their white counterparts. And this is a toss-up question to any of the panelists. From your personal and professional perspective, how do you currently relate to AI? And secondly, where are you engaging with it in your work, studies, or advocacies? Or where do you feel the most excitement or hesitation?
I'd love to jump in. Thank you so much for having us. This is fantastic to be here. So, I have a very fraught relationship with AI, as I'm sure a lot of us do. Jeffrey Hinton, who is the godfather of artificial intelligence, said a little bit ago that there's a 10 to 20% chance that artificial intelligence will kill us. And I don't know about you, but if there was a person that someone said, hey, go sit in this room, there's a 20% chance that he's going to kill you, I would not go sit in that room. There is that reality, number one. Number two, last year my sister started, talking about how her light bill was going up a ton. And she's like, I don't know why. And I said, I bet there's an AI data center being built next to you. She's like, no, I haven't heard anything about it. Well, come to find out after her light bill went from, basically almost tripled, that the largest AI data center is being built about, 5 miles down the road from her. Okay. We have
Wow.
seen what is happening in Memphis with AI data centers there. And working in the Black press, I cannot say how conflicted I am knowing that we may use AI for, generating headlines, that we may use AI for transcription purposes, knowing that that could potentially be killing and harming my own people. That is a very difficult position to be in, and it is the reality that we're in. I also think a lot about just the way that ICE currently is using artificial intelligence. You know, every time we see them holding up that phone to somebody, I'm like, this is not the cancer, solving, you know, future that we were promised. And so that's
Mhm.
what makes me nervous. And I always say it's not AI that is taking jobs, it is people making a decision to fire you on the basis of AI. AI is just a tool. I think one of y'all said that it is just a tool. But I think that we have a lot of questions that we need to ask because we can use it. I think there's ways that we can use it to make our jobs easier, but also if I know that this could potentially kill my people because the data centers are being put in Black communities or close by it, do I really need to use this to write an email to somebody? An email that they probably ain't even going to read and don't want.
Hmm. Wow, that's incredible feedback. And you gave a couple of hot takes around a 10 to 20% chance of something harming you. Would you go into that room? Very interesting. Any more feedback on on that topic, on that question, everyone?
I just wanted to say that I think that it's very important when discussing AI that we look at the implications for the environment, like Liz was saying, just to piggyback a little. If we're going to be using countless gallons of water every day to produce emails, to produce videos, to make shorts, things that aren't pushing us forward as a society. Now, I'm all for AI when it's going to be used to make medical innovations or, take us to space or something, very innovative. I don't think that it's good that we're focusing on creating us as a product in our day-to-day lives. We are now the product that is being marketed. Our data is being marketed, it's being shared, it's being used. We know that it's being biased. We know that the AI has ability to kind of have a color blindness to it. It shows us what it wants us to see. So I think that that's an unfortunate part of AI that we can't get the ethics side of it right. There's some unethical behavior in the AI world, and once that's corrected, once that's adjusted, once we find a way to remedy, I think that'll be better. We lead the world in data centers. We have over 5,400 in the U.S. and growing each day. So why do we need more? We were existing on social media prior to hyperscale data center existence, and I feel like we can continue to survive without that. So in my day to day, I try to minimize my AI generative usage as much as possible. Of course, it is beneficial if you're trying to do something and you want something that's cost effective. So sometimes I find myself torn between taking a cost effective solution, but knowing that the cheaper route is polluting the community and hurting us on the back end. So I just think that that's important to focus on, and I want to also highlight that we as a community, as African Americans, have to really think about what is being done to us by the AI, how they're putting it in our communities and how it's impacting us for the long term. Studies haven't been done for long term impacts of data centers being in our communities. So it's teeter tottering on how you ethically expand AI, but then I want us to wait a little bit and pause until quantum computing takes off because that's less harmful on the environment. It's less impactful on communities. We can use transmission lines that already exist for data transmission. So I just think that if we slowed down and scaled back and didn't allow companies like Google, Meta, ChatGPT and OpenAI to sell us on these dreams, that we won't have this big bubble that could possibly burst.
Wow, wow. I mean, you hit on a couple of things. You even brought quantum into the conversation, which I love the conversation of quantum. And it sounds like you and Liz share very similar sentiments. What is an interesting sentiment that I took from that is that you have to oscillate between, hey, do I use AI or do I not use AI? And if I use AI, how much benefit is it the benefit cost when it comes to the pollution versus the resource that I'm creating. I would like to hear some excitement, right? So I know Marlon and Eric are doing some incredible work in AI. I've worked with Eric on presenting to hundreds of people across the DMV, and he has actually been a champion in our company at Black Meta Agency. I'm curious on what is some excitement, what are some areas of interest and intrigue that gets you going and that's driving you to move forward in your industry as an expert, Marlon and Eric.
Yeah, I'll kick it off. So I'll start off this way. I'm a person in this industry that I play offense. My mind can't even think on the defensive side because I understand the impact that can be. And so the question I propose is, We may say, hey, well, let's wait and kind of figure these things out to see what the impact may be. My question is, will there be a bigger impact on something like the data centers, or will there be a bigger impact to our community without using it? Everything. Going back to McKinsey and Company also did a research and said that they understand now that generative AI is going to add anywhere from 2.2 to 4.4 trillion dollars to the economy. Let's break that down. ChatGPT, the users of ChatGPT, 50% of the users are of the Indian Asian community. 27% is of the Hispanic community. Whites are next, and then blacks are last when it comes to like 6%. What is the impact of us not using it? We can't afford in this current industry to not use it. I'm one of the individuals have been very, very early into the space. I built one of the first AI grant writers on top of GPT 2.5 right before GPT 3 launch. Yeah, this was when OpenAI was invite only. So the minute I hit compile and the minute I saw the results of what is going to happen, I'm sure the world is about to change. Not our lives, everything, the world, everything. I also I partner with Microsoft, I partner with Google's, everything. I partner with Van Jones to do education. I've done over 100 workshops in the past 3 years and stuff. Yeah, we can't afford this moment to not miss.
Yeah.
It will be a greater impact and everything if we start to kind of lay back and sit back and everything, because number one, we're already behind. We don't have the privilege and everything to wait and everything to figure out what's going to happen when a community who looks like us is already behind. Not only just behind in technology, in so many different levels. Everything. If you want to take this back to education, we're talking about a tool now that has the ability to help some of our children read better, learn math quicker, be more interested in sciences and everything. And so I think the consistent conversation around what it may be in the biases and everything, and not kind of just going to lean into the practitioner set, because it's a tool for everything. I mean, we can have the same exact conversation hundreds of years ago with something just like money. It was individuals and everything who was connected to us. So at one point people thought electricity and everything was voodoo. And at this point, we just can't afford it, though. This will be a greater impact. If we just simply wait and not use it, than it will ever be when it comes to like data centers and health impact.
Well, Marlon, you definitely are in the field. And one thing about the work that we do, we love people that are actually outside doing the work. Sitting behind a computer and working, making apps, and just building inside of your home is not enough. We have to touch the people. So I want to commend you on the work that you're doing with touching the people. And something that you touched on was very interesting. And I'll compliment that point of how far we are behind as a community. We're about 12 to 14 years behind as a community in technology, which means that we have a level of disenfranchisement from economics, from politics, from policy, and from other channels that can move where we are on the totem pole when it comes to wealth creation, wealth management, and wealth ownership. So the fact that we are at a crux where Taylor is very passionate about doing the work around this new phenomenon of AI and data center integration in our communities, we definitely have to look at both sides of the coin as it relates to how we're going to mobilize and leverage this very pivotal moment in history. Eric, I would love to hear about your excitement because of the work that you're doing as well.
Yeah, I've always had a passion for people, love for technology, and believe that technology can be a catalyst for innovation and equity. I also agree with some of the sentiment that's shared. I think that, as a community, it's important to be able to hold two truths. This is definitely a tool that can change generations, but at the same time, if not intentional about it, can widen the gaps that already exist. And so I think that it's not a moment of waiting and seeing what happens. I think it's an opportunity to be an architect and really leverage these tools for our dreams and ambitions. And I think that when we think about AI, it really has the ability to amplify intent. And some of the things that were shared is there are people who have good intent and there are people who have malicious intent. And I think that just waiting and seeing, hey, what are the people with malicious intent doing with AI? We can look at that all day, but it's like a lot of great people who have really brilliant ideas within our community to advance the things that we care about. And I think that when we think about advancement, is it advancement if we're not all advancing? And I think that for myself as a leader and as a technologist and leading organizations, I challenge leaders to say, hey, what are you doing to ensure that you're doing things in an equitable and a responsible way that also has a positive impact on not only your teams, their communities, and the community at large. I think that we have to continue to advocate for that because by default, people with ill intent may go and leverage it for their benefit. And so I think that, as a community, it's really important for us to say, what is the intent that we want to amplify? And how can AI augment our intelligence in a way to do things that we maybe weren't able to do effectively before? And so, thinking about the things that AI can do, I've been on this ride for a while as a technologist, and literally within the last like 3 months, I mean, the things that you can do with it, speed of thought. I can build a website, I can build an app in like 2 minutes less, like fully functional, deployed. Like, think about all the people who had ideas written on napkins and your grandmother's like poems. Like, you can create a book like today. And so I think it's really an opportunity to have that enthusiasm and say, yes, there's a lot of negative things that are going to happen in society, but what are the great things that we want to amplify? What are the things that we care about, and how are we able to advocate for it, but also leverage this tool to do things at a faster rate than ever before?
So Eric, one thing you talked about was dreams and ambitions, and we can achieve those dreams and ambitions, and more readily. And so I want to pass the mic to Sydney. And Sydney, at Georgetown University, study found that 89% of college students have used AI tools for coursework, yet 56% report feeling uncertain about when such use crosses ethical lines. As an educator, I was speaking to a Howard University student last fall in Acostia, and she said, Mr. Howard, I'm so challenged with my writing skills because I use AI for everything. And so for you, Sydney, how is AI changing how you learn, how you compete and prepare for the job market? And then the second part of that question is to the whole group. As employers and working professionals, how do you see this impacting the quality of talent and work output in the coming years? So Sydney, back to you. How do you see this changing how you learn and compete? To enter a job market that is already tumultuous because of everything that we have going on in this very fast-paced and dynamic economy, to be gentle with my words.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that question. I think the answer lies in kind of my personal experience with AI. I think I lie somewhere in between where everyone kind of shared their sentiments are. Initially, I was very anti because, I'm a journalist, I'm an aspiring writer. And so I was completely against anything that could potentially take away from my voice. And I think like the power lies in the people and in interviewing sources. And I feel like I was scared that AI would kind of take away from that. But then coming to college, and like interviewing my peers and just observing them, that statistic definitely rang true. Like people use AI for everyday homework assignments, writing essays, even just something like, a pitch for a story or something. And then when I was promoted at the Hilltop, it was coming to fruition in my everyday life. Like a section editor might come to me with concerns that
Mhm.
somebody was using AI, in their writing or in their pitches. And then as a leader, I kind of had to navigate those types of conversations with people. And so with that, I kind of realized that this isn't something that's going away. So being afraid of it isn't going to help. What's going to help is, reading up on it and actually being trained on how to use it. I feel like it's a whole new language that you kind of have to learn. And that's something that where like our training as journalists comes into play. Our generation, the way that we kind of adapt to new apps as they come in, we just kind of learn how to use a whole different type of platform for a purpose that the older generations might have difficulty navigating. I think that's coming into play here where we're going to have to start learning how do we use it ethically. And I mean, it's just like anything else where everybody has certain values and certain places where they will cross the line. So it is kind of an individual choice, but as a community, we need to be doing our part in terms of educating people, researching people who are at the forefront of AI so that no one is left in the dark. Like, I think just like ignoring it and saying like this is something bad isn't going to be the solution. At the end of the day, we all have to play our part, just like something like recycling or reducing emissions. So I think it's important for us to kind of take it. And then in terms of the job market, um, I think a lot of people are afraid that it's taking away jobs, like people, entry level positions, like small tasks, things that would normally be reserved for like an intern or a low level person. People are afraid of that with AI. But I'm hoping that what happens with our generation is that we learn how to use it as a tool And that also has to come from our employers. Like, what are their expectations? What would get you fired? Like, what is plagiarism versus just using it as a tool? So I think as the laws develop, as the standards develop, we're going to have to create those standards as a society. And then as individuals, we're going to have to push back where necessary, especially on behalf of our community. And then we're also going to have to decide, where's the push and pull of where we fit in all the different places.
Okay, Sydney, you hit the ball out of the park with this one, and you opened a idea or conversation that I have at the higher education level. I sit on the board for the universities at Shady Grove, and they had a conversation where their professors were extremely anti-AI at that school, but other schools around the country have fully adopted it, which makes their students more competitive. Now we know that HBCUs, our black colleges, have competitive challenges when it comes to access to professors, quality professors, access to technology, and et cetera. Where does the culture, from your experience that you're seeing your peers and even at Howard University, what's the tone on campus and amongst professors when it comes to the technology? And then also, do you have counterparts at other colleges, PWIs and majority institutions, who are using it? And what does that look like from your vantage point? Because you're our expertise when it comes to being a student.
Yeah, I think that's something that I've been really excited about at Howard because, well, obviously, it's kind of like, the people on this panel, right? Like, there's a split. Like, I have one professor who's very traditional and old school, and like now he's having us list all of our, like, when we submit an article for an assignment, we have to submit our source, their phone
You love
number,
it, right? You love it.
like,
It's exciting.
like, oh my
Yay.
God. Yeah. And like, I mean, for an ethical student, like, I have no problem submitting my sources and
Right.
having him actually call them. But, if you're someone who likes to plagiarize and cut the corners, then good luck to you, I guess.
Yeah.
But then there's also people at Howard who are really excited to be on the forefront. Like, I had another professor last semester who she's really pro like embracing it and being at the forefront. And so they've created a committee here at Howard where they're trying to get like an AI certification program started where students can take courses about ethical AI and how it relates to the Black community. So in that way, I'm really happy that Howard is on the forefront of it. I'm excited to learn more about it. I just assigned that story to a Hilltop reporter. So go read
Okay.
the Hilltop if you guys want to hear more about it once we publish that.
For
Um,
sure.
but yeah, I mean, I was an intern last summer at a local Black newspaper back home, the Seattle Medium. And I was really interested by how my boss and like the social media manager there used AI not for like writing, but for generating headlines that were appropriate for like the algorithm, like pushing stories to the top. So I think in that way, it can help us be more
Mm.
competitive where our stories might not be as mainstream. So I think there's a lot of interesting ways that we could be on the forefront of it. And I'm seeing it at Howard, like people aren't running away from it. So that's
Okay.
interesting.
So this is from Marlon and Air. It's a follow up to Sydney's points. You all work with a lot of different types of learners from all ages and backgrounds. Uh, what is the posture that you've seen at majority institutions, or let's focus on institutions because Sydney's here. We want to give some focus on education. What are you all seeing the difference in adoption at those communities versus our colleges and education communities?
Yeah, similar to what Cindy said, I think she made some outstanding points and stuff there. It's consistently a split. It's consistently a split of people wanting to learn it and integrate it, and you have people who are in kind of like standoffish and everything. I'll put it like this: artificial intelligence is now becoming the treadmill. It is the treadmill into the new AI-centric workforce that we're all going to live and work in. The beautiful thing about a treadmill is you can set your own speed. You can set your own speed. So when it comes to learning, when it comes to practitionership, when it comes to building, so you may be someone like me who are building several different applications, doing applications, doing educational things like that. But you may be somebody like, hey, I just want to just kind of take it, hour a week, what it may be. The most important thing is to be on the treadmill. And I mean, this is what is about to happen, if you like it or not. Everything. This is about to become a new workforce. The only thing I was slightly disagree with what Sydney said is, so let me make this clear. I'm vice president of applied AI at JP Morgan. This is not a JP Morgan thought. This is Marlon Avery thought. Do not wait on your leadership of your business to figure out this AI thing. They don't know what they're doing. Anything. I've called out several
Hot take, hot
CEOs.
take, hot take, hot take, hot take.
I've called out several CEOs. I've called out several companies for doing firings when the leadership does not what they do not know what they're doing. I have the privilege to sit on some of these calls when they're having their town halls and they're just using the word AI like it's a verb, like it's a noun, but not clearing no distinction to it. Not giving the people direction and everything to learn from it. The only thing you're saying is go learning, and that is it. This is also too a privilege of mine because then you hire somebody like my company to come in and do the education and training part of it too as well. But this is consistently going, fortunately or unfortunately, so it comes back to the individual, the practitioner stuff, of the one and stuff who's looking in the mirror is to figure it out. Do not wait on your leadership. Do not wait on your manager and everything. Be a practitioner and everything. Figure out how to solve and build, your some of your most challenging things, as well. And so we're talking. You're listening to a person that did not graduate high school, got his GED without AI. Now, if you put me in this world now with artificial intelligence and everything, and the work ethic that I have to figure this thing out, to create a pipeline and everything, not only for myself, but the ones coming behind me, you guys are in trouble. I mean, this is where we're at.
Watch
This
out,
is a
watch out.
life-changing moment for every last name on this call. We consistently talk about we're waiting for our share of the pie. Here's the ingredients.
Wow,
Make your
wow.
make your own.
Wow. So
To add on
I'm
to
going
that,
to.
I
So Eric, you good?
yeah, I gotta add on to that. I love the analogy of the treadmill, and I think it goes into like within technology there is an adoption curve. You have people who are early adopters, you have people who are a late majority, you have laggers, and I think that in every organization, to the point, everyone's on that spectrum. And I have the same time. I'm going with IT teams at the biggest companies in the world, and I go and I give a survey of where do you fit in the adoption curve, and surprisingly, it's anonymous. People are in all areas of that, even people who are leading AI. And
Hmm.
so I think that, what that looks like varies, but like riding a bike, you have to actually do it. And so I think that, what's interesting though, in addition to that, it's really a mindset thing. It's not all technology, right? So when we think about this space that we're in, every year, LinkedIn does kind of a survey of what are the top skills. They have like a work index. And last year, the top three skills was interesting. And I think kind of gets it to the point I'm trying to make is that the number one skill was AI literacy. Number two was conflict resolution. And number three was adaptability. So adaptability and conflict resolution, when we're going through a transformation and disruption like we're going, it's more about like what are your ideas and how are you able to navigate and go through that, and then have context to how are you leveraging AI. And so whether you're in the school context, a small business, startup, etc., understanding like what is it that you're trying to do, and then being able to get hands-on experience is key. And I think a lot of institutions don't have that context. If you have a video that says, here's what AI is, and you just clicking through, you don't know AI. And so you have to actually have context and have hands-on experience. And so I think that the work that we're doing collectively is really important to say, hey, one, where does that context as a student, as someone that is sharing information globally, someone that's building applications, someone that's serving people, how does that play a role? But it's important that you have the character and the interpersonal skills to navigate that as well. And so I think that although we're talking a lot about AI and advancement, I'm thinking, how are we advancing ourselves? What does Eric 3.5 look like to be able to navigate this change? And so I think that we have to kind of have both and.